AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he embarrassed me and my family at a dinner party. I, 33F, have always been close to my younger sister, 29F. We grew up in a small town and stayed connected despite our different life choices. I live in a big city now, work in marketing, and have a nice apartment I take pride in. My sister moved to the city a few years ago, met a guy, and got engaged recently. When she told me about her fiancé, Mark, 32M, I was excited to meet him. She said he was charming and easygoing. I hadn't met him until a few months ago when they came over for dinner. That night left a really bad taste in my mouth. I honestly felt embarrassed for my sister. Mark was loud and rude, interrupting me while I was cooking and making inappropriate jokes about my job and friends. He drank too much wine and started making passive-aggressive comments about my small apartment and how it must be hard living alone. My sister apologized and tried to smooth things over, but I could tell she was uncomfortable too. Since then, I've kept my distance from Mark, mostly interacting with my sister without him around. My sister asked me to be a part of their wedding planning, and I agreed because I care about her, but I made it clear I wasn't a fan of Mark's behavior. A few weeks ago, my sister told me that Mark's company was relocating him temporarily to my city for a few months. She asked if Mark could stay at my apartment while he looked for a place of his own. I was hesitant. I had never spent much time with Mark and felt he disrespected me the last time he was at my place. But my sister said it would only be for a few weeks, and she really needed the help since Mark was dealing with all the relocation logistics. After some back and forth, I agreed to let Mark stay with me for 2 weeks, thinking I could make the best of it and get to know him better. I even bought some extra groceries and cleaned up my place to make him feel welcome. From day one, Mark acted like he owned the place. He left dirty dishes everywhere, borrowed things without asking, and never said thank you. When I confronted him about it, he shrugged it off and said he was just comfortable and didn't want to be treated like a guest. I reminded him this was my home, and I expected him to respect it, but he rolled his eyes. One evening, I had invited a few friends over for a casual get-together. Mark was in the living room watching TV, but didn't join us. Around 9 p.m., I went to the kitchen and found him in the middle of a conversation with one of my friends, Jess, who was clearly uncomfortable. When I asked Jess what was going on, she said Mark was making inappropriate comments about her appearance and asking very personal questions that made her uneasy. I told Mark to stop and leave Jess alone. Later that night, Mark came to me saying Jess had been overreacting and accused me of taking her side just because she's a woman. He said I was being unfair and that I was biased against him. This was the last straw for me. The next morning, I told my sister that Mark had crossed the line and that I could no longer let him stay at my place. She was upset and said I was being too harsh and should try to be more understanding. I reminded her of how he treated me and my friends and that I was not comfortable having him in my home anymore. She threatened that if I kicked him out, it would hurt their relationship and maybe even jeopardize her upcoming wedding plans. She said Mark felt unwelcome and that I was being unreasonable. I stood my ground. I ended up asking Mark to leave that day. My sister hasn't spoken to me much since. She keeps saying I'm being selfish and that I should put family first. But honestly, I feel like I was being reasonable and protecting my home and friends. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he embarrassed me and made my guests uncomfortable? Or should I have tolerated his behavior for the sake of family peace? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior? So, this has been brewing for a while, and I honestly don't know if I'm the asshole here. I, 28F, have a younger sister, Emily, 25F, who's getting married in a couple of months. Normally, I'd be excited and all in, but this time things are different, and it's all because of her fiancé, Mark, 27M. A little backstory first. Emily and I have always been close, but we've had our ups and downs. She's been dating Mark for about a year now, and from the start, I had reservations about him. He comes off as charming and polite on the surface, but once you get to know him, he can be controlling and dismissive. Emily is head over heels, though, and I kept quiet because I wanted to support her happiness. The problem started becoming more obvious over the last 6 months. Mark has this habit of undermining Emily in subtle ways, often disguised as jokes or advice. For example, at a family dinner, Emily mentioned she wanted to apply for a new job she was excited about, and Mark immediately jumped in, saying it's too ambitious for her and she should focus on something more realistic. Emily looked deflated, and the rest of us were awkward. I tried talking to Emily about it, but she brushed it off. She said Mark just cares about her and is looking out for her best interests. I didn't want to push too hard because I know it's her life, but things kept escalating. At one point, Mark made a joke about how Emily should learn to cook better because a good wife knows her way around the kitchen. It was cringeworthy and honestly felt like a throwback to some outdated mindset. The real breaking point for me happened last weekend during the engagement party. It was hosted at their apartment, and about 20 people were there, family, friends, co-workers, and so on. Mark spent most of the night making snide remarks to Emily, often right in front of everyone. When Emily accidentally spilled a drink, Mark loudly said, "Smooth move. Maybe next time you'll think before you act." People were visibly uncomfortable, and I could see Emily shrinking in on herself. What made it worse was that when I gently confronted Mark about his behavior later, he got defensive and told me to mind my own business and said I was trying to sabotage their relationship. I told Emily what he said, hoping she'd see what he was really like, but she refused to listen. She said I was being jealous and negative, and she didn't want me to ruin her wedding. Since then, Mark's behavior hasn't improved. At family gatherings, he constantly interrupts conversations, talks over people, and tries to control what Emily does. It's like he needs to be the center of attention at all times. I've also noticed he tries to isolate Emily from her friends and family, subtly suggesting she spend more time with just him. With all this going on, I made the decision to not attend their wedding. I told Emily that I can't in good conscience celebrate a relationship that seems so unhealthy and toxic. She blew up at me, saying I was selfish, immature, and that I was the one causing drama. Our parents are upset too because they want the whole family there and think I'm overreacting. I don't want to cause a permanent rift, but I also don't want to pretend everything is fine when it clearly isn't. Emily says I'm being harsh and that Mark is a good guy who loves her, but I feel like I'm watching her slowly get pushed down by someone who doesn't respect her. So, AITA for refusing to go to my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior? Or should I just suck it up and support her no matter what? AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her toddler to my wedding even though it caused a huge family rift? I, 29F, have been planning my wedding for almost 2 years now. My fiancé, 31M, and I are both really particular about how we want the day to go. It's to be a formal event with about 80 guests at a nice venue, with a cocktail hour, seated dinner, and dancing afterward. We decided early on that the wedding would be an adults-only event. We both agreed that it's not the right environment for kids, especially young toddlers who might get restless or upset and disrupt the flow. We also felt that since this is a one-time event for us, we wanted it to be something our guests could fully enjoy without having to worry about childcare issues. Most of my family and friends were very understanding of this. We made it clear on the invites and RSVP cards that this was an adults-only event, and we explained it gently when asked. However, my sister, 27F, has been absolutely furious about this from the beginning. She has a toddler, Lily, who is almost 2 years old. My sister insists that Lily must be included because she is a part of the family, and that excluding her is hurtful and unfair. She's also brought up how hard it is to find childcare for Lily, and how no one else in the family is willing to watch her for the day. I've tried to be reasonable and offered to help cover the cost of a professional babysitter for Lily at home, or to help find a trusted daycare for the day, but my sister refuses to hear any of it. She claims that it's unreasonable for me to expect her to be away from her child on my wedding day, and that I'm being selfish by prioritizing my perfect wedding over her family's needs. About a month before the wedding, she dropped a bombshell on me. She said she would bring Lily anyway, even if it meant showing up uninvited or refusing to follow any of the rules. She argued that since she was paying for her own dress, travel, and stay, she should be allowed to bring her child. She also said if I insisted on no kids, she might not come at all. I stood firm. I told her no kids, no exceptions. I explained that the venue has strict rules about children and that I wanted the wedding to go smoothly without any tantrums or disruptions. I reminded her that I had offered to help with childcare expenses and that many other guests would be traveling without kids, too. The situation escalated quickly. My sister started posting angry messages on social media, accusing me of being heartless and putting a party before family. My parents got involved and pressured me to compromise by letting Lily come, but I refused. They said I was breaking the family apart over something silly, but I felt strongly that my day should be what my fiancé and I envisioned. On the day of the wedding, my sister showed up alone, leaving Lily at home with a babysitter. She was icy and barely spoke to me, barely participated in anything, and left early. The rest of the family was split. Some supported me. Others thought I should have been more flexible. Now that the wedding is over, my sister has barely talked to me. She said some nasty things about me behind my back and accused me of ruining her relationship with our family. Several relatives have asked me if I think I was too harsh or if I should have just let Lily come. I honestly don't think I was in the wrong. I planned my wedding with my fiancé and put a lot of thought into what would make it enjoyable for everyone involved. I set clear boundaries from the start. It's not about rejecting my niece or being mean to my sister. It's about managing expectations and making sure the event is what we wanted. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her toddler to my wedding, even though it caused a big family rift?